From the very first second this story hit the internet, people knew something was wrong. Deeply wrong. Because the moment Candace Owens stepped in front of that camera, took a breath, and said she had finally decided to reveal the truth about Charlie Kirk's private DNA tests, the entire political world froze like they were bracing for an earthquake. And trust me, they should have, because what she hinted at wasn't just messy, it wasn't just embarrassing, it was career-ending, relationship-ending, and reputation-destroying. And she claimed she had receipts, actual documents, screenshots, messages, and allegedly, the test results themselves. But here's the part that sent the internet into absolute chaos. She didn't just insinuate that Charlie had taken secret DNA tests. She didn't just hint that the results were not what anyone expected. She said, on camera, that the truth behind those results explains everything about his recent behavior. The paranoia, the late-night messages, the sudden hostility, the weird speeches, the quiet disappearances, the people he suddenly cut off with no warning. According to Candace, it all ties back to one night, one test, and one truth he tried desperately to bury. And viewers could feel it. There was something in her tone, something in the way she kept glancing off camera, like she was almost scared to say too much. Like even she knew crossing this line meant stepping into a place she'd never be able to walk back from. She didn't even smile. Not once. She just said, "You deserve to know what he found out and why he didn't want anyone to see it." Those words alone were enough to ignite a wildfire. Within minutes, hashtags exploded across social media. Leaked voice notes started circulating. Anonymous insiders claimed they'd known for months. And the biggest question was suddenly hanging over everything like a storm cloud. What exactly did Charlie Kirk discover in that DNA test? And who was he trying to hide it from? And here's the part nobody was prepared for. Those results didn't just affect him. They connected to someone else. Someone powerful. Someone close. Someone who would never want this truth out. And now, it's out. From the outside, everything always looked tightly controlled around Charlie Kirk. A polished public image, a carefully crafted narrative. A circle of people who never spoke out of turn. For years, his world seemed like a fortress. Solid, calculated, impenetrable. But those who've been paying attention know that fortresses don't collapse overnight. Cracks form quietly, silently, deep inside the walls where nobody is looking. And now, with Candace Owens stepping forward and dragging his most personal secret into the light, the world is finally seeing those cracks for the first time. Because this didn't start with a DNA test. Not even close. This story began long before Charlie ever mailed those samples. Long before the whispers started. Long before the first anonymous insider dared to risk everything. It started with relationships, complicated ones. Political alliances that began as friendships. Private conversations no one else was supposed to hear. And a growing tension between people who used to work as one unit, like a machine. But machines break when one part stops moving the way it's supposed to. For months, people inside his circle had been noticing something was off. Charlie wasn't acting like himself. He was more suspicious, more isolated, more reactive. He questioned everyone's motives, even those closest to him. He accused people of leaking things that never leaked. He asked his team to sign new confidentiality agreements. He triple-locked meeting rooms. He started having private calls in his car so no one could overhear anything. And people noticed that whenever someone brought up his past or certain family details, he would snap, shutting the conversation down instantly with a tension that could cut air like a blade. But things really escalated the moment Candace Owens distanced herself. She didn't say anything publicly at first. She didn't come out swinging. She just stopped showing up in the same rooms, the same interviews, the same private events with him. Followers noticed, reporters noticed. Even rival commentators whispered that their relationship had soured. Yet no one had any proof, and Charlie pretended nothing had changed. But Candace? She knew exactly what had triggered the shift, because she was one of the only people who heard the story directly from Charlie himself. It happened late one night, weeks before the public ever sensed anything was wrong. According to multiple sources, Charlie had confided in Candace that something huge had come to light. Something he never expected. Something he honestly didn't know how to process. He allegedly told her he had gotten results and said, "I don't know what to do with this information." He didn't explain everything at first. He didn't give her details. He just said he was shaken and needed time. And knowing Charlie's normally rigid, controlled personality, seeing him rattled like that told Candace instantly that whatever it wasn't small. A few days later, everything began spiraling. Someone close to Charlie, not a political ally, but someone personal, had confronted him. They wanted answers. They wanted transparency. And according to a leaked message circulating now, Charlie allegedly panicked and denied everything. This confrontation reportedly pushed him to secretly order a DNA test, something he did quietly, without telling his team, without telling anyone in his inner circle, without even telling the person who demanded the truth in the first place. He just mailed in the samples and hoped the results would stay between him and the test provider. But secrets don't stay secret in circles full of egos, power, and paranoia. Somebody found out. Somebody leaked fragments. Somebody whispered to someone they shouldn't have. And soon, rumors were swirling. Rumors Candace desperately tried to ignore until she couldn't anymore. At first, she tried to protect him. She really did. She had always stood by him, disagreed with him publicly, but still defended him against criticism. Their relationship wasn't perfect, but it was strategic. It worked. They both benefited. So when she heard the rumors, she asked him directly, not as a commentator, not as a rival, as a friend. And his reaction was so extreme that she immediately knew he was hiding something enormous. He became cold, defensive, aggressive. He told her to stay in her lane. And that single sentence changed everything between them. Because Candace is many things, but silent is not one of them. Over the next few weeks, Charlie's behavior got worse. He was unfocused at events, snapping at staffers, pacing backstage, disappearing during important meetings. People close to him claimed he would leave early, go home, and sit alone in his office, staring at his phone, opening and closing the same email over and over again. The email everyone now believes contained the DNA results. Meanwhile, Candace kept digging. She reached out to people who had known Charlie longer than she had. She asked about old tensions, old rumors, old family conflicts. And slowly, the pieces began forming a picture. One Charlie clearly never wanted anyone to see. There had always been whispers, quiet, uncomfortable whispers, about things Charlie avoided discussing. Questions about timelines, questions about old relationships, questions about situations that didn't fully add up. People assumed it was personal, something he just didn't want to revisit. But now, in hindsight, it all looks different. Every deflection, every vague answer, every aggressive shutdown suddenly has a new meaning when placed next to Candace's revelation. The night before Candace went live, something happened. Insiders say Charlie called multiple people, not to defend himself, not to explain, but to threaten consequences if anyone dared spread lies. He was panicked, almost frantic. People who had known him for years said they had never seen him like this, not even during past controversies. And when Candace finally hit the record button, she did it knowing exactly how explosive this revelation would be. She knew this wasn't just drama. This wasn't just commentary. This was personal. This was world-shaking. And once she spoke, there was no going back for anyone involved. But what makes this story even more intense, more gripping, is the fact that Candace didn't just reveal the existence of the DNA tests. She strongly implied that someone else had pushed for them, someone whose identity is still being debated. Was it a family member, a partner, a former friend, a powerful figure behind the scenes? Whoever it was, they clearly knew something long before Charlie did. Now, millions of viewers are asking the same question. If the truth was big enough to shatter their entire political alliance, then what exactly did those results reveal? The moment everything truly exploded, the moment this entire situation spiraled from quiet suspicion into a full-blown crisis, was the night Charlie Kirk received the final DNA results and realized he could no longer hide the truth from the one person who had been demanding answers from him for months. And according to multiple insiders, that confrontation was so explosive, so emotionally chaotic, that the people in the house next door claimed they could hear shouting through the walls. Because whatever Charlie discovered wasn't just shocking, it was destabilizing. It rewired the way he saw everything in his life, every relationship, every memory. And suddenly, the man who built an empire on being in control was unraveling faster than anyone could stop. It started with an email. Just one. The subject line read, "Your full genetic report is ready." Simple, cold, unemotional. And yet, according to an anonymous assistant who claims to have seen him in that moment, Charlie stared at that email for almost 20 minutes without opening it. He paced the room. He rubbed his forehead. He sat down, stood back up, then sat again. His hands were shaking. He was breathing hard. It was as if he already knew the results weren't going to be what he'd hoped for. As if he felt the truth closing in on him like a trap. When he finally opened the email, insiders say his face turned completely pale. He stopped blinking. He stopped moving. For almost 30 seconds, he didn't speak, didn't react, just stared. And then, suddenly, he slammed the laptop shut, grabbed his jacket, and stormed out of the room. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He didn't answer messages for hours. He disappeared. And when he finally resurfaced, everything changed. Because by the time he returned, screenshots of private conversations he'd been having about those DNA tests were already circulating online. Screenshots Candace Owens allegedly had access to before going public. One of them read, "If this is real, everything falls apart. Everything." Another said, "Don't tell anyone yet. Please, I need time." A third message, now viral, said, "This cannot get out. I mean it. It cannot." No one knew who he was talking to, but investigators online were convinced it wasn't Candace. And that raised the biggest question yet. Who else knew the truth before she did? But the first twist didn't come from Charlie. It came from the person who had pressured him into taking the DNA test in the first place. Late one night, around 1:14 a.m., an anonymous X account posted, "I told him the results wouldn't lie. He didn't believe me. Now look." Within minutes, thousands of people were trying to figure out who the account belonged to. Some said it was someone from his past. Others believed it was a political insider. One theory even claimed it was a family member using a burner account. But what made the post even more explosive was the second one that followed. "He tried to pin everything on me, but the truth is bigger than him." Screenshots spread like wildfire. Thousands of retweets, millions of impressions. The account vanished after only 9 minutes, but the damage was done. The timing was too perfect. Too coordinated, too pointed. Whoever posted it knew exactly what they were doing and exactly when to strike. Meanwhile, Candace Owens was already deep into her own investigation. Behind the scenes, she had apparently contacted people connected to Charlie's early life, people who had kept quiet for years but were suddenly willing to talk after hearing that he'd taken a DNA test. And what they revealed shocked her enough that she told her team she needed to prepare a statement. But the true eruption happened the next morning. Charlie's phone buzzed repeatedly with incoming calls, messages, warnings. Someone in his orbit, someone he trusted, was leaking. And not small leaks, not rumors. They were leaking details. Raw, sensitive details about what his DNA results suggested. Details that could ruin alliances, tear relationships apart, and trigger investigations into past events he'd thought were buried forever. It was only a matter of time before the media got involved. And that's when Candace Owens made her move. She reached out to Charlie directly. According to leaked audio, she asked him plainly, "Is this true?" And instead of answering, Charlie reportedly snapped, "Stay out of it. This isn't something you want to be involved in." That one line confirmed everything Candace needed to know. Because she had heard that exact sentence before. Years ago, during a completely different controversy. Whenever Charlie was hiding something big, something personal, something tied to old secrets, he would shut down the same way. Cold, defensive, almost panicked. Candace didn't back off this time. She pressed him. She asked him why the DNA test was necessary to begin with. She asked him who the other person involved was. She asked him if the rumors were true. And the moment she did, insiders say Charlie completely lost control. He yelled. He accused her of betrayal. He claimed she was being manipulated by outside forces. He told her he wouldn't let her destroy him. But the one thing he didn't do? He didn't deny the results. And that was the moment Candace realized the truth was far uglier than she expected. According to people close to her, she didn't plan to expose him publicly right away. She wanted to confront him privately. She wanted answers. She wanted him to tell the truth before someone else weaponized it. But Charlie refused to say anything. He refused to acknowledge the screenshots. He refused to explain the anonymous posts. He refused to even discuss the email. And then it got worse. Someone sent Candace a file, a document, a high-resolution image with blacked-out sections but a clear, undeniable header. Parental Relationship Analysis. Final Report. Candace reportedly sat in silence for 9 minutes after opening it. Her team noticed her breathing change. One assistant whispered that she looked like she was reading something she was never meant to see. Another claimed she pushed her chair back slowly, stood up, left the room, and didn't come back for almost half an hour. Whatever was in that report wasn't just shocking. It was personal. It involved someone with influence, someone with ties to their political circle, someone whose name being connected to Charlie in this way would cause a level of fallout no campaign, no organization, no commentator could clean up. And that's when Candace realized she couldn't stay silent anymore. Because if she didn't speak, someone else would. Someone who didn't care how messy it got, how many lives it upended, or how deep the collateral damage ran. So she made a decision, a dangerous one. She decided to go public before the wrong person could twist the story. But before she could release anything, another twist hit. A major political journalist posted a cryptic message. If the rumors about Charlie are real, tomorrow is going to be chaos. Within 3 minutes, it had thousands of comments. Speculation skyrocketed. Some people thought he was talking about a scandal. Others believed it was a resignation. But a small group, those who had been following the DNA rumors, knew exactly what he meant. And the chaos arrived sooner than anyone expected. Because at 2:43 p.m. that same afternoon, an anonymous insider sent Candace the message that broke everything apart. He lied to all of you. The DNA test wasn't about confirming a relationship. It was about disproving one. That single sentence flipped the narrative upside down. Charlie wasn't trying to find out if someone was connected to him. He was trying to prove they weren't. And according to the insider, the results did not come back the way he thought they would. Suddenly, the shouting match, the panic, the burner accounts, the frantic warnings, the pacing, the late-night calls, the emotional collapse. It all made sense. Because if those results contradicted claims he had made for years, public claims, personal claims, political claims, then everything he had built was at risk of collapsing overnight. And now, for the first time, Candace understood why he didn't want her speaking. Because the truth wasn't just embarrassing, it was destabilizing. And the moment she realized that, She knew she had no choice but to reveal what she knew before someone else leaked the full report without context. But the final push, the thing that truly set her off, came from Charlie himself. In a private message, he accused her again. He said she was being reckless and dangerous. He suggested her career would implode if she continued pressing him. He told her she was playing with fire. And the moment she read that, one thought burned in her mind. Why is he trying this hard to shut me up? The answer arrived only hours later, in the form of a screenshot from inside Charlie's own team, one that revealed the first massive twist in this entire saga. The DNA test results connected Charlie to someone he publicly claimed he had no biological link to, but privately feared he might. And that revelation changed everything. The moment that first twist leaked, when people realized the DNA results connected Charlie to someone he insisted he had zero biological link to, the entire internet ignited like gasoline on open flame. Comment sections exploded. Political forums crashed. Influencers started going live mid-sentence, abandoning whatever topic they were discussing just to pivot into the madness. Hashtags broke into trending lists within minutes. And every single one of them carried the same undertone. What else is Charlie hiding? But what no one expected, what absolutely nobody was prepared for, was how fast the situation escalated inside his own inner circle. Because the second the truth started circulating, people who had stayed silent for years suddenly began whispering. Anonymous tip lines received dozens of messages. Old acquaintances sent cryptic warnings. Even former staff members started hinting at things they always suspected but could never prove. And somewhere in the middle of the chaos, Candace Owens received something that changed the trajectory of the entire scandal. A long, detailed message from someone deep inside Charlie's organization. A message so explosive that her team double-checked the sender's identity 3 times before even opening the attachments. And once they did, everything fell into place. The message said this: "You're not getting the full story. There's another test. He hid it." The room fell silent. She opened the files. This wasn't the same report she saw earlier. This wasn't the partially redacted version. This was a completely different document. Another DNA analysis timestamped weeks earlier. And in this one, the names weren't redacted at all. It showed 2 individuals. Charlie was one of them. The other name was someone whose connection to him would immediately send shockwaves through their entire political network. Candace's hands reportedly went cold. She told her staff she needed air, walked out, sat in her car, and just stared. Because this second test, this hidden test, wasn't requested by Charlie at all. It was requested about him. According to the insider, someone else submitted Charlie's sample without his knowledge. Someone who desperately needed answers. Someone who had been lied to for years. Someone who finally reached their breaking point. The escalation didn't stop there. While Candace was absorbing the new information, social media erupted with fake Twitter threads claiming to have identified the other person in the test. Some claimed it was a former ally. Others believed it was someone from his personal life. But the theory gaining the most traction was far more dangerous. That the other person was someone powerful, someone respected, someone who would never publicly admit to being involved in something this scandalous. A viral thread on X read, "The second person is someone Charlie swore had nothing to do with him. Everything makes sense now." The replies were brutal. "He lied for years. This is going to destroy the movement." Candace wasn't exaggerating. This is nuclear. Influencers across the political spectrum began dissecting every detail. Streamers were pulling late-night emergency lives. Journalists were calling their editors at midnight. Podcasts scheduled emergency episodes. And still, no one had the full truth. Because the real reveal hadn't dropped yet. And the person who delivered it next wasn't Candace. It was someone inside Charlie's own home. At 11:58 p.m., a recording surfaced on a small, barely known account. An audio clip so grainy, so chaotic, that at first people couldn't tell who was speaking. But as listeners cleaned the audio, enhanced it, replayed it, one voice became unmistakably clear. Charlie. And he was yelling. In the clip, Charlie could be heard saying, "This is why I didn't want the tests. This is exactly why." Followed by another line. "You think this makes anything better? You think this fixes anything?" And then a quieter, shaking voice, another person, responded, "I just wanted the truth." That single clip detonated like a bomb. It was the first confirmation that the DNA tests weren't just political. They were deeply personal, painful, emotional. And once people heard that second voice, speculation spun out of control. Some thought it belonged to a family member. Others believed it was an ex-ally. A few insisted it sounded like someone who had once been publicly close to him. TikTok sleuths spent hours running audio comparisons. Podcasts played the clips side by side with old interviews. It was chaos. Absolute chaos. And then, just when people thought the situation couldn't escalate any further, Candace dropped the bombshell that changed the entire conversation. Charlie didn't take just one test. He took 3. Millions stopped scrolling. 3 tests, 3 separate results, 3 attempts to find the truth or hide it. And according to Candace, each test revealed something worse than the last. But the most shocking reveal was still coming. Because the leaked second test, that one with the unredacted names, wasn't the twist. It wasn't even close. The real twist came from the third test, the one nobody knew existed, the one Charlie had done in total secrecy, without telling a single person. But someone found it. Someone leaked it. Someone sent Candace the raw scanned file, including the handwritten signature at the bottom. And when she read the results, witnesses say she whispered, "Oh my God, this changes everything." Because the third test didn't just confirm a biological connection. It revealed when that connection began. And the timeline didn't line up with the story Charlie had been telling the public for years. This wasn't a minor discrepancy. This wasn't a small mistake. This was a full-blown contradiction. One that exposed a carefully constructed narrative that Charlie had used for almost a decade to shape his public persona, his personal credibility, and even his political influence. Candace didn't release the name. Not yet. But she said enough to make the entire internet explode. The results show he knew the truth years ago, and still lied. The backlash was instant, brutal, unforgiving. One political commentator tweeted, "This could end his career." Point blank. Another wrote, "If he lied about that, what else did he lie about?" A viral YouTube livestream pulled over 180,000 viewers in 30 minutes just to break down the implications. News outlets began preparing emergency headlines. Even his supporters, his die-hard loyalists, went quiet. Because the twist wasn't just about the DNA results. It was about the cover-up. Charlie hadn't just hidden the results. He had constructed an entire narrative around a version of himself that no longer made sense in the light of the truth. And that's when the next leak dropped. Screenshots of texts, allegedly from someone extremely close to him, saying, "He told me the first test was a mistake. He said the second one was rigged. But when the third one matched the first 2, he shut down." Suddenly, people understood why he had panicked. Why he had disappeared. Why he had snapped at Candace. Why he had threatened insiders. Why he tried so hard to silence everyone. Because those 3 tests didn't contradict each other. They aligned. Perfectly. Undeniably. And in each one, the same truth appeared. But the final blow, what made this scandal go from shocking to catastrophic, was the identity of the person who demanded the tests in the first place. That name wasn't leaked accidentally. It wasn't whispered anonymously. It wasn't hidden behind burner accounts. It was dropped intentionally by someone who wanted the world to know. The person who pushed for the DNA tests. The person who confronted Charlie. The person whose voice was heard in the leaked audio. The person who had been living with doubt for years. Was someone Charlie publicly claimed had absolutely nothing to do with him. And the moment that name spread online, the entire political internet went silent. Absolute, deafening silence. Because finally, the world understood what Candace had been hinting at. This wasn't about science. This wasn't about genetics. This wasn't about biology. This was about betrayal. And it was only going to get worse. The moment the name dropped, the moment the world learned who had demanded the DNA tests, everything stopped. It felt like the entire internet froze mid-scroll, like the collective audience took one massive inhale and didn't exhale for several seconds. Comment sections weren't just busy, they were overflowing. People weren't just talking, they were screaming. And for the first time in years, both supporters and critics of Charlie Kirk seemed to agree on one thing. This was bigger than anyone expected. The reaction wasn't just loud, it was volcanic. One fan posted a video, eyes wide, voice shaking, saying, "I'm sorry, what? You're telling me he lied about that for years? This changes everything." Another influencer live-streamed their reaction, pacing back and forth in their living room, hair messy, shouting into the camera. How did he think this was never going to come out? How? This man built entire speeches on a story that wasn't even true. But the loudest reactions came from the people who used to stand beside Charlie on political stages, who had shared microphones with him, defended him, reposted him, retweeted him, praised him. And now, they were scrambling. Hard. One high-profile commentator wrote, "I don't know what's real anymore. If this is true, then he owes everyone an explanation." Another tweeted, "This is the type of scandal that ends careers. I'm not saying he deserves it, but this is bad, really bad." But while half the political world was stunned silent, the other half erupted into war. Supporters of Candace Owens rallied behind her instantly, calling her brave, honest, fearless. They said she did what needed to be done. They reposted her clips, edited them into montages, clipped sound bites where she said, "You deserve the truth," and set them to dramatic music on TikTok. Millions watched, millions commented, millions shared. But Charlie's loyalists weren't backing down either. They stormed the internet with counterattacks, insisting the entire thing was exaggerated, twisted, manipulated, or taken out of context. A viral defense post read, "Candace is doing this for attention. Charlie wouldn't lie about something that important. This is a setup." Another said, "Fake tests, fake leaks, fake drama. It's all to tear him down before election season." The division was instant, and the chaos was unstoppable. On Instagram, fan pages for both influencers began posting long, emotional paragraphs accusing the other side of betrayal. Reddit threads ballooned into thousands of comments in under an hour. Discord servers melted down. Telegram groups began sharing unverified documents, voice notes, screenshots, some real, most fake, and nobody knew what to believe. But the entertainment industry? They were loving this. TikTok drama pages posted sensational edits with captions like, "Charlie's secret finally exposed." "Candace just ended a political career in 3 minutes." "DNA scandal, this is getting messier by the second." Popular gossip YouTubers dropped emergency videos analyzing every detail, every screenshot, every unredacted pixel of the leaked reports. One video reached 2.3 million views in 4 hours, simply titled, "The DNA Test That Could Destroy Everything." Meanwhile, comedy creators wasted no time turning the situation into memes. Edits of Charlie staring nervously at an envelope circulated everywhere. People photoshopped him holding a DNA kit in campaign photos. Even late-night comedians jumped on the opportunity, cracking jokes about testing political DNA and finding out who really belongs in whose party. But behind the jokes, behind the shock, behind the hashtags, something far more serious was happening. Major news outlets picked up the story. Then political news sites. Then mainstream networks. One network ran a segment titled, "Questions Surround DNA Report Connected to Charlie Kirk, What We Know So Far." Another ran with, "Candace Owens Drops Devastating Revelation. Experts React to Alleged DNA Test Scandal." And then came the interviews. Former employees who once swore loyalty suddenly hinted that they noticed things, felt something was off, or always suspected inconsistencies. One even suggested there had been whispers years ago, but no one took them seriously. Now, those whispers were resurfacing with a vengeance. A former staffer claimed, "We knew something was wrong when he kept avoiding certain conversations. He shut down any topic involving that person." Another said, "There were always rumors. We just didn't know the truth." But the biggest reaction wasn't from fans, not from influencers, not from commentators. It came from within the political movement itself. One insider told a journalist, "There's panic behind the scenes, real panic. People are distancing themselves immediately." Another leaked, "Phone lines are burning up. No one knows how to respond without making it worse." And that's when something unexpected happened. A high-ranking figure, someone who rarely comments publicly on drama, tweeted, "No one is above the truth, not even the people you admire." That post alone gained over 1 million likes. People assumed it was aimed directly at Charlie. Supporters demanded he speak. Critics demanded he step down. Some demanded he release the full DNA results himself. But Charlie? He stayed silent. No posts, no statements, no denials, no explanations. And the silence only made things worse. Because while he remained quiet, Candace kept dropping more context. Carefully chosen sentences, perfectly timed details, subtle hints that drove the internet deeper into hysteria. At one point, she said, "You can't build a platform on truth while hiding something this big." The comment section exploded. "Say his name. Say the result. Tell us everything. Don't hold back." Even people who didn't like her were begging for more. And as the public tore itself apart, more insider leaks surfaced, this time allegedly from the person involved in the second DNA test. According to the leak, they had known for years something wasn't right, but every time they brought it up, Charlie dismissed them, avoided them, or exploded in anger. One line from the leak shook the internet. "I didn't want to hurt him. I just wanted the truth." Fans reacted emotionally, posting videos crying, ranting, or venting. How could he do this to someone so close to him? He built his entire brand on values he wasn't even living by. This is beyond politics. This is betrayal. Meanwhile, poll results began circulating, showing a massive drop in Charlie's public approval within hours of the scandal breaking. Sponsors quietly removed his image from campaigns. Event organizers postponed appearances. Collaborators distanced themselves so quickly it felt rehearsed. But the most intense reaction came from someone unexpected, a well-known political figure who tweeted, "When the truth comes out, the movement will survive. But not everyone leading it will." Screenshots of the tweet spread like wildfire. Everyone interpreted it as a direct warning to Charlie. By now, the public had turned fully against him. Even his strongest supporters were struggling. The memes weren't funny anymore. The jokes felt uncomfortable. The silence felt damning. And then, finally, a new wave of panic swept across social media. A rumor started spreading that Candace had one more piece of evidence. Something she hadn't released yet. Something that would end all doubt. People went insane. What else does she have? Drop it now. We need the full story. She's holding the nuclear file. TikTok sleuths were posting hourly updates. YouTubers started countdown streams. Twitter Spaces ran all night. News outlets ran breaking banners every hour. And as the pressure hit a boiling point, One sentence began trending everywhere. If this is the reaction, imagine what the final reveal is. By the time the world reached peak hysteria, by the time the denialists had fallen silent, the supporters had softened, the critics had sharpened their knives, and the entire internet felt like it was vibrating. Candace Owens made one final move. Not a statement, not a live stream, not a long breakdown. Just a simple message posted with almost surgical precision. There's one more thing you haven't seen. That sentence alone shattered the remaining stability around the scandal. Panic rippled through Charlie's team like a current. He stopped answering calls entirely. People who used to defend him started deleting old tweets. Collaborators who had previously insisted, "The truth will come out," suddenly went private. Something was coming. Something so catastrophic that even his closest allies were bracing themselves. And that something arrived in the form of a leaked file, sent anonymously to multiple journalists, multiple commentators, and multiple people inside Candace's circle within minutes of each other. It was a coordinated strike. A hit from someone who wanted the truth out with impossible force. The file wasn't a document. It wasn't a screenshot. It wasn't an email. It was a video. A shaky, dimly lit video recorded on a phone, clearly filmed during a confrontation between Charlie and the same unidentified person whose voice had been heard in the earlier leaked audio. The first few seconds were muffled, footsteps, heavy breathing, the sound of a door closing. Then Charlie's voice burst through. "Stop asking me! I said it's over!" He sounded desperate, cornered, terrified. The person filming tried to reason with him, voice trembling. "You can't just ignore it. You can't pretend it's not real. I deserve the truth." Charlie's voice cracked. "The tests don't mean anything. They're wrong." Then the camera shifted, and for the first time, viewers saw his face. Eyes red, lips trembling, pacing like a man staring down the collapse of everything he built. He grabbed a stack of papers from the table, crumpled test results, and slammed them down. "They're lying," he shouted. "All of them." The other person stepped forward, voice breaking. "3 tests don't all lie, Charlie." The internet froze. That line was the death blow. 3 tests, 3 identical results, 3 confirmations. And then, just when the tension reached its peak, Charlie said something that would alter the trajectory of the scandal forever. His voice dropped, shaking, raw. "If this gets out, it ruins both of us. Both of us." That sentence rewrote everything. It wasn't just his secret. It wasn't just his lie. It wasn't just his identity at stake. The other person had something to lose too. Suddenly, theories erupted like fireworks. Was the individual a political figure? A public personality? A donor? A private partner? Someone tied to past controversies? Someone he publicly dismissed but privately feared? The energy online shifted instantly. People weren't just asking what the results said anymore. They were asking why it would ruin the other person too. And the speculation hit nuclear level when the video reached its final 30 seconds. Charlie stood there, breathing heavily, shoulders trembling, holding the DNA papers so tightly they crumpled in his fists. The other person whispered, "Why didn't you just tell me?" Charlie didn't answer. He looked away. He wiped his face. He whispered something so low viewers had to amplify the audio to hear it. "I was scared you'd leave." The internet lost it. Leave? Leave what? A partnership? A relationship? A political alliance? A private arrangement? Nobody knew. Everyone had a theory. And then came the final 5 seconds, the part that detonated all remaining questions. The person filming finally stepped into the light. The camera caught their profile, the jawline, the voice, the posture. The identity wasn't spoken, but the internet recognized it instantly. A name began spreading across social media like wildfire. Commentators gasped. Podcasters screamed. Ex-users typed full paragraphs in all caps. Because the person demanding the DNA tests, the person Charlie feared losing, the person Charlie lied to for years, was someone the public never imagined. Someone who had been beside him on stage. Someone who had defended him publicly. Someone who had shaped their movement with him. And the moment people recognized that silhouette, everything changed. Candace didn't have to say it. The video said everything for her. The truth was out, and the implications were catastrophic. Organizations scrambled to issue statements. Political groups went into crisis meetings. Journalists declared it the most shocking interpersonal scandal the movement had ever seen. Influencers demanded Charlie step forward and explain himself. But Charlie stayed silent. Silent while the video spread to every platform. Silent while his allies panicked. Silent while people speculated about the timeline, the relationship, the motive, the betrayal. Silent while his entire world collapsed around him. And then, just when viewers thought the chaos had reached its peak, someone leaked one final line from the full, unedited version of the video. The last thing Charlie said before the clip ended, something no one had heard in the truncated viral version. There's more you don't know. The internet stopped. More? What more? More secrets? More tests? More lies? More people involved? People flooded Candace's page with comments. What else? Drop part 2. We're not done. If this is real, the movement is finished. Where's the rest of the footage? The scandal wasn't wrapping up. It was only spiraling deeper, and everyone knew it. Because now that the truth was exposed, the next question was even darker, even more dangerous, even more explosive. If Charlie says there's more we don't know, what else is hiding in those results? What else is buried in his past? And why is he so terrified of the next leak? And now, after everything you've just heard, after the hidden tests, the leaked recordings, the whispers from inside his own circle, the shocking silhouette reveal, and Charlie's final trembling admission that there's more you don't know. The only question left is this: what happens next? Because this story isn't over. Not even close. If anything, we're only scratching the surface of a truth that stretches deeper, darker, and more explosive than anyone expected. Every hour, new leaks are dropping. Every minute, new insiders are speaking. And right now, even the people who once defended Charlie with their whole chest are suddenly going silent, deleting posts, stepping back, pretending they were never involved in the first place. But for you watching this is where you come in. I want to know what you think. Seriously. Do you believe the DNA tests were real? Do you think Charlie was hiding the truth from the world? Or hiding it from someone even closer? Do you think the person in that leaked video was who everyone thinks it was? And most importantly, what do you think he meant when he said, "There's more you don't know"? Drop your theories in the comments because trust me, your take might end up being the one that predicts the next twist in this story. And don't hold back. This is the one moment where your voice actually matters in the chaos. Every idea, every suspicion, every angle helps reveal what's coming next. And listen, if you want the next chapter, the full breakdown of the person exposed in that silhouette, the unedited audio, the second half of the leaked video, and the secret connection nobody has talked about yet, then make sure you smash that like button so this video hits the algorithm and forces the truth into the light. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next update, because when the next leak drops, it's going to be bigger, louder, and 10 times more shocking than what you just heard. Turn on notifications, because the moment this story escalates, and it will, you're going to want to hear it from me first. This is only the beginning. Stay ready.